Oprah Winfrey has had the kind of career that was once seen as an impossibility for a woman. The accomplished actress and media mogul has defied many odds and smashed through barriers to get where she is today. What you may not have known is that Oprah has been battling against adversity her whole life. Oprah Gail Winfrey was born on January 29, 1954, in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, to young parents. Her mother, Vernita Lee, was 18 and her father, Vernon Winfrey, was 20. Oprah's parents weren't together, leaving her to be raised by her grandmother, Hattie Mae Lee, while her mother moved north to find a home and secure work. The early years of Oprah's life were filled with learning. Hattie Mae taught Oprah how to read, and brought her to church, where the little girl would read passages aloud. She started kindergarten at 5, but quickly was moved to the first grade when they saw how well she read and wrote. When Oprah's grandmother got sick, she was sent north to live with her mother and her half-sister, in a boarding house in Milwaukee. A year later, the 7-year-old was sent to live with her father and stepmother in Nashville. Oprah settled in nicely there, skipping a grade again and made her way to 3rd grade. She got involved with her church and started showing her proficiency for public speaking. The summer after the 3rd grade, Oprah was taken to visit her mother and now 2 siblings. She decided to stay with them in Milwaukee. Oprah was living there at 9 years old, when she had her first experience with sexual abuse. While babysitting her younger siblings, Oprah says she was raped by her 19-year-old cousin. As time went on, a family friend and an uncle would also abuse the vulnerable young girl. Eventually, Oprah became pregnant. The history of abuse was traumatizing to Oprah. She kept the incidents to herself and began acting out. She would skip school, steal, and run away. It became more than her mother could handle, and so Oprah was made to move back to Nashville, under her father's watchful eye. At 14 years old, Oprah hid a big secret from her family. The teenage girl managed to hide her pregnancy from her family for 7 months. She told her father about the pregnancy, then went into labor the very same day. Her baby boy died 2 weeks later. I was so ashamed, I hid the pregnancy until my swollen ankles and belly gave me away. The baby died in the hospital weeks later, she wrote in a 2007 article. The news would become public in 1990, when a family member sold Oprah's story to a tabloid for $19,000. Though it was devastating for her, she also said the experience taught her that carrying the shame and keeping it a secret was adding to her hurt. In 2015, Oprah shared the name she gave her child 47 years after he died. I did an interview with a reporter, before I came to Australia, and she said you should name the baby son who died, she said in an interview. So I have named him. I had a little boy named Canaan. I did have a son. And I named him Canaan, because Canaan means new land, new life. The talk show host, actor, and philanthropist, is typically known by just her first name, putting her in the pantheon of single moniker megastars, such as Beyoncé, Rihanna, and Cher. Originally finding worldwide fame fronting The Oprah Winfrey Show, the Mississippi native may have always seemed destined for stardom, which is a testament to herself, considering she came from such incredibly humble beginnings. One of the biggest reasons Winfrey continues to be so beloved with millions of fans all over the world, is because they really feel like they know her. After all, for decades, we've watched her struggle through hardships and fight for causes close to her heart, all while remaining staunchly true to who she is. It's unsurprising, then, that the TV personality is simply Oprah these days, even if the name on her birth certificate is actually Orpah. Put simply, she's one of a kind. This is how the inimitable Oprah Winfrey went from humble origins to one of the most recognizable names and faces in the world. Oprah Winfrey has the ultimate rags to riches story, and it is so inspiring to think of where she came from. Oprah Gail Winfrey, and that isn't a typo. Her aunt wanted her named after Orpah in the biblical book of Ruth, so that's how it's spelled on her birth certificate. But people weren't sure how to pronounce it, so her name became Oprah. Even though Winfrey was surrounded by love as a young child, they didn't have much else. Her grandmother worked as a maid and told Winfrey that she would also grow up to be a maid too. During this time, she wore clothes made from potato sacks, which resulted in people cruelly calling her sack girl. But even as a young child, Winfrey knew she was meant for much greater things. This could have all not come to fruition, as when she was being abused and became pregnant at the age of 14, it was at that time that she first considered suicide. I hit rock bottom, Winfrey said in an interview. I became pregnant and hid the pregnancy. I'd intended to kill myself actually. I thought there's no way other than killing myself. I was just planning on how to do it. If I'd had the internet, I might not be alive because now you can just Google how to do it. During her pregnancy, her mother actually decided to kick her out of the house. She was supposed to go to a detention center for girls, but fortunately they were full and could not accept her. It was at this time that she was sent to live with her father, who helped her turn things around. So here she was pregnant at 14 and moving to a new state to live with a new parent. Fortunately, Oprah Winfrey's father provided a safe and loving home for her. When she gave birth to her son, he later died from complications of being born prematurely by 2 months. Experiencing all this at age 14 would have broken most people, but Winfrey's father told her that this was going to be her second chance at life. She could now move forward and leave her painful past behind her. I was, in many ways, saved by that, and I made a decision that I was going to turn it around. Winfrey did turn it around and left her painful past behind her. It's hard to believe that the suicidal and pregnant 14-year-old was able to turn her life around, but she did. Oprah Winfrey started trusting herself and her own instincts and followed her passions to the public eye. I haven't planned one thing ever. I have just been led by a strong instinct, and I have made choices based on what was right for me at the time. Winfrey started participating in beauty pageants and she went on to win the title of Miss Black Tennessee in 1972 when she was 17. Once she got the taste of the limelight, there was no turning back. Once Oprah Winfrey became comfortable on stage as a beauty queen, she made the leap to television at a very young age. Winfrey went on to become the first African-American female news anchor in Nashville. She didn't waste any time either. She actually left Tennessee State University to take the job at the ripe old age of 19. I remember leaving class to go take a phone call from Channel 5's Chris Clark, Winfrey said on her show. During her interview, she was asked if she knew how to run a camera and write a news story. I think I lied and said, "Sure I can." From her very first television appearance, Winfrey knew she had found her life's work. "It just felt like breathing," she said. "It felt like this is where I'm supposed to be." She went all in with her television career and quickly gained the attention of news executives around the country. After getting started as a Nashville news anchor, Oprah Winfrey moved to Baltimore in 1976. At first, continued working in evening news. She began her time in Baltimore as the co-anchor of WJZ's 6 p.m. weekday newscast alongside Jerry Turner. Unfortunately, Turner didn't make it easy for her. First of all, he wanted to be alone from the beginning. And then, if he had to have a co-host, he didn't want a young, green behind-the-ears one like me, Winfrey said in an interview. At every chance he could get, he would embarrass me, or try to make me feel bad about where I went to school. That's when I first learned that, oh, where you went to school is an important thing, because he'd go, "Where do you go to school again? What little college or university?" So I would have to say my memories of Jerry Turner are not fond ones. But then Winfrey made the switch to morning television, when she signed on for the role of co-host of Baltimore's People Are Talking. Going from news to talk show turned out to be exactly what she needed. Her ratings earned her the Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah Winfrey was clearly meant for the talk show world, so when a talk show job opened in Chicago in 1984, she went for it. She was offered her own show called AM Chicago, so she packed up and became a Midwesterner. Winfrey was going up against morning talk show legend Phil Donahue, and quickly surpassed his viewer numbers, shocking everyone. Her ratings were so impressive, that in 1985 the show was renamed, The Oprah Winfrey Show. This was a clear turning point in her career. The Oprah Winfrey Show was highly influential to many young stars, and many of its themes have penetrated into the American pop cultural consciousness. Winfrey used the show as an educational platform, featuring book clubs, interviews, self-improvement segments, and philanthropic forays into world events. The show did not attempt to profit off the products it endorses. It had no licensing agreement with retailers when products were not promoted, nor did the show make any money from endorsing books for its book club. It is the most successful talk show of all time, with Oprah being the highest-earning talk show host ever for the last 3 decades. As of 2022, Oprah Winfrey's net worth is estimated to be $3.5 billion, which makes her the richest female television host of all time. She has come a long way, from the poor girl from Mississippi who grew up in poverty, abuse and thoughts of suicide, and rose to the top of it all, to become one of the most successful women of the 20th and 21st century so far. Check out our new videos on our channel, where new celebrity news is coming soon. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, and ring that bell, so you don't miss a single thing.